Hi everybody, Householder Monk here. Today I thought I'd talk about communication, communicating with someone who's not a good communicator, and someone who needs to communicate because they have issues that they need to express to somebody to help them out as therapy, whether they know it or not. So I am very close with someone who has PTSD and has a lot of baggage from a terrible childhood. And this person gets into ruts and is only lucid part of the time, usually after I've done everything I can to get them to talk to me. So, if you're close to someone who has problems of any different kinds, could be various things, money is a big one, marital issues are another. How do you get that person to talk? It's not easy. Some of us are good communicators. Some of us, when we have something on our mind, we talk to our loved ones, get it off our chest in an effort to hear ourselves say what we're thinking, and it gives us a different perspective on it when we hear it out loud. And we know that it will be good for this other person to talk, or to at least tell us what the problem is, what's bothering them now. This person recently told me that when they look in the mirror, all they see is the anxiety, all those things that are bothering them right now, daily tasks that have to be done. Like for me, I have to drive way out of my way every morning to take my kids to school, and then I have to turn around back to point A and go another 45 minutes to work every day. And I hate that. I hate that hour drive in the morning. This particular person has similar things. Worrying about laundry not being done, worrying about the dishes piling up, worrying about getting the kids to and from school and volleyball and fitting groceries in. And fortunately, this person doesn't have a very stressful job. They got to make sure they're ready for work and get there on time, get up early. So I'm not sure I'm going to have a lot of solutions to this, but I think it's something to think about if you're dealing with somebody that's obviously distressed. Communication from you or from me, the one that can help, gets that other person to open up. Finally. Sometimes they're very resistant. Sometimes they don't want to talk about it. Sometimes they hear something, they can't handle the truth. So if they hear something they don't want to hear, this person turns their back and walks away. But if you can learn how to touch, not push buttons, but to touch those parts of that person that gets them to go zing, that is something. That's something I need to talk about. The main point is to be honest and to tell them how you're feeling. I think an easy way to get somebody to open up is to tell them how you feel. Tell them what you see. Tell them what you think is happening. And this can be done in a very tactful way with no blaming, no finger pointing, and the next thing you know, the person has become a good listener and they will respond. It may be difficult for them to say the words. It may be difficult for them to put the words, put the feelings into words. But the next thing you know, you have elicited a conversation. And the person tells you a little bit. And you listen. And now you're the good listener. So again, I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, which is one of the callings I wanted to achieve in my life, but that's just not my career area. But again, from a layman's perspective, I am the householder monk. I'm just a householder. That's the key to these videos that my daughter and I make, is I feel that I personally have seen so many podcasts, so many videos, so many presentations on YouTube, read so many books and magazines, all by experienced Zen monks or Thai monks or Tibetan lamas or scholars, people who have studied Buddhism and mindfulness meditation, and are Zen teachers, and in some cases yoga teachers who implement facets of Buddhism and meditation. I've heard it from all these experts, but the key to these videos my daughter and I are making are for you to hear it from somebody who's just living it. Not a master, not a teacher, but how all these aspects of Buddhism have affected my life and how they work for me and they work for my family. I hope that it draws in more people to what Buddhism is when they're not listening to some experienced, decades-long master meditator that could possibly push you away. I'll never achieve that. They've got so much more experience than I'll ever have. They're a monk, they have time to study. I don't have time to study and live my life this way. Well, I'm here to say I'm just a normal householder, and maybe you can learn a little something from me and from what I've learned. So, as you know, the purpose of the videos that my daughter, Buddha Girl, and I make are focused on the life triad of Buddhism, veganism, and body consciousness. However, topics like this, I think, need to be addressed. So many marriages fail because of poor communication. So many work relationships are in jeopardy because of poor communication. Why haven't people learned how to communicate? We may or may not only live once. We don't really know, do we? But life is too short not to tell somebody something positive, to be honest with them. What you see, what you feel, open up something about yourself. Any of these things can stimulate a conversation with somebody who really needs somebody to talk to, but a lot of times they're in denial. They don't think that's what they need. They haven't investigated or put into practice any other mode of therapy out of all the ones that I've mentioned in these previous videos. All the different modalities of therapy one can use to beat depression, beat anxiety, and generally live a life, ideally for me, a life as close to being a monk as possible. It's very difficult because when I go to work every day, I can't be a monk. I have to be a householder, and I have to be a worker, and I have to deal with politics, and I have to deal with backstabbing and ladder climbing and people talking about me, and I have to be careful not to say bad things about other people that I may be feeling. That's rightful speech. And rightful actions dictate that I take this in stride, I do my job, and I try to be myself. That, as most of you know, you have to be somebody else in a way to function in the society or environment of the workplace. So this has been a little bit about communication. Even if I haven't covered the prescribed methods by the psychologists and psychiatrists who specialize in communication, which I obviously am not able to do. But even if I just brought this point up, communication, to two people talking. I was in a failed relationship. I almost married a girl because I loved her, but the communication on her behalf was so poor. And it was so long ago, I wasn't a practicing Buddhist at the time, so I was a poor communicator as well, even though I've always been one to open up and tell somebody how I feel and get it off my chest, and there it is. The communication was so bad that relationship failed. And it's fortunate that I did, because I wound up with my current wife. So just remember that, communication. And that's all we've got for this video.